What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. The WBA, World Boxing Association. A lot of people say the WBA is in Al Haymon's back pocket. Well, one of Al Haymon's fighters, Erislandry Lara, is on the brink of sitting in the catbird seat. Let me set the stage for you. Yesterday, the WBA ordered its champion, Gennady Golovkin, aka Triple G, that he has 5 days. Not today, it'll be 4 days, to either relinquish or defend the title versus the secondary champion, Erislandry Lara. Now, he's got 4 days. Now, the ruling came out yesterday. He said he's going to give him 5 days. Now, we're 1 day out, so it's 4 days. It'll be this Sunday. He has to inform the WBA his decision. Now, Triple G has a fight lined up, a mega matchup with Canelo Alvarez, Cash Cow Boxing. The fight's going down September 17th, Mexican Independence Day weekend. Going down in Las Vegas, Nevada, aka Sin City, at T-Mobile Arena. Now, the outcome of that fight really ain't going to make a bit of difference in what Triple G decides to do, because he's got to make the decision before the fight takes place. So he's got to form the WBA. Is he going to defend that belt after the Canelo fight, or he's going to relinquish that belt after the Canelo fight? If he decides to relinquish the belt, which I suspect he's going to do, then the WBA in all likelihood will elevate the secondary champion, Erislandry Lara, to a full status. Or at the very least, he will fight for the vacant belt in the WBA against the highest ranked opponent in the WBA. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, let me let you know a little secret from what I'm hearing through the grapevine. What I think is going to be the likely scenario. Triple G is going to vacate that WBA belt. If he beats Canelo, well, he's going to probably be the defend the belt in the that he wins off Canelo, which is going to be undisputed. You would think he would defend those belts at 168. But even if he loses and goes back down to middleweight, he's not fighting Erislandry Lara. He's not a fan of Lara's fighting style. He said that 4 or 5 years ago when Lara called him out. He don't want no smoke with Lara. You know, he basically said that he's not a fan-friendly fighter and he has no interest in fighting him. So with all that being said, I don't think anything's changed now. Now, Lara's fighting a little bit more offensive style of fighting. You know, he's sitting down on his punches. He's not doing as much moving. And he's letting his hands go much more in the second half of his career here lately. Let me just say it like that. He's letting his hands go. You look at his last fight. He was on the undercard of a pay-per-view event. I can't remember. I don't know if it was it Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero, or was it Spence versus Ugas? He was on the undercard of a pay-per-view event here recently, and he put on a good performance. Very exciting. And you look at the fight with him and Jared Hurd. That was a very exciting fight. So he has definitely, in his latter stages of his career, decided to be a more offensive-minded fighter, sitting down on his punches, more flat-footed. He's still a very smart fighter, has a very good jab, has a very good 1-2. And he's a guy that when you try to stifle his offense, he's able to show a lot of versatility in his offense. But he has left himself a little bit more open to counters, and his defense is not on the level that it was 4 or 5 years ago, due to the fact that he's more aggressive offensively and due to the fact that his skills have diminished over the last couple of years. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I think the likely scenario will be they'll elevate Erislandry Lara to full WBA middleweight champion after Triple G decides to vacate the belt. And that will set the stage for Al Haymon, who runs the PBC, to put 2 of his PBC fighters in a unification fight at 160. That being WBC middleweight champion Jermall Charlo versus WBA middleweight champion Erislandry Lara. They can put that fight here in Houston, and that's where Charlo's from. Lara has trained down here in Houston for several years. I don't know if he's training down here now because he's no longer being trained by world-renowned trainer Ronnie Shields, who has a gym down here in Houston. So I don't know. So that's actually making this fight more possible, because that's one of the reasons why I don't think that fight got made in the past, because Ronnie Shields was training both fighters, so that kind of made it kind of hard. Now, we've had examples in the past where we had two fighters that ended up fighting that had the same trainer. Remember when Daniel Jacobs fought Sergey Derevchenko, and Andre Razil, who trained both of the guys, decided to go with the guy that he pretty much raised, and Daniel Jacobs, who had been with longer, and then Sergey Derevchenko, I think, got one of Andre Razil's assistant trainers that trained up under him, that trained them for the fight. So even that, with all that being said, it's not going to be a problem in this instance, because again, Lara has another trainer. He's severed ties with Ronnie Shields a few years ago. So we will see what happens, and and we will see what transpires. But that's the likely scenario I see playing out. Now, about a week and a half ago, they had a report coming out that Keith Thurman was considering fighting Lara at a catch weight of 155 pounds. And I think that was a situation that might have been a possibility, but I don't see that happening now. Because from everything I'm hearing, I'm going to give y'all a little bit of news, a little bit of breaking news. Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford is all but done for November. I'm hearing that they could do a press conference on the 29th of July to officially announce the fight. They have a press conference the day before Danny Garcia takes on Jose Benavidez. Have a big press conference at the Barclays announcing that mega matchup, one of the biggest fights in the sport of boxing. That's what I'm hearing. And if that is indeed the case, then that will set the stage for Keith Thurman to take on Matthias Stellionis for Stellionis regular, or they call it world WBA welterweight title. It's a secondary belt, as the full champion is Errol Spence Jr. That will set the stage for Thurman versus Stellionis. Now, the person that's going to be on the outside looking in is going to be Jerron Boots Ennis. And Stephen Espinosa, they're going to have to get real creative with him and try to find him an opponent. Don't be tied down to the 147-pound division. If you got a good opponent, maybe at 154, that you maybe can bring down to a catch weight, maybe 151, 152, or maybe Ennis, who's a big welterweight, can go up to 154 and fight if it's the right opponent. You know, Fundora or somebody like that. They got to be real creative with Jerron Boots Ennis, because it's like he's going to be the odd man out, man, in this situation, as far as Spence versus Crawford for November, Thurman versus Stellionis. That fight will take place sometime in the fall or winter of 2022, and that's going to leave Jerron Boots Ennis, who was looking for a fight with Keith one-time Thurman, who was looking for a fight with a Matthias Stellionis on the outside looking in. Now, they could put him in there with Rashidi Ellis, but Rashidi Ellis just got to the PBC. He basically had a fight against a dishwasher and knocked him out in the first round. I think he probably need at least one more fight against maybe a top 15 welterweight before you put him in there with Jerron Boots Ennis. But maybe they, with this situation, they push them, they go ahead with, they push those plans ahead, and they just say, look here, man, you got one fight in, man, we need you against Jerron Boots Ennis. We'll pay you good money for that fight. He's one of the guys we're really putting our investment behind. We think he's a future champion. We think he's a guy that got next. He's going to take over the welterweight division once Crawford and Spence moves up, and they pay Rashidi Ellis accordingly. Maybe he'll say, okay, I'll take this fight one fight too early, in my opinion, and I'll get in there and fight Jerron Boots Ennis. Outside of that, you got Crowley. Maybe they could put in with Ennis, but none of those guys bring anything to the table as far as Jerron Boots Ennis wanting to fight for a title. He would have had that in the scenario if he would have been taking on a Stellionis, who held, like I said, the regular version of the WBA welterweight title. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about Jermall Charlo versus Erislandry Lara. If that fight does go down, it'll be toward the end of 2022 or the first quarter of 2023, a unification fight at 160. And that would be a good fight for Jermall Charlo, who, as of right now, his career is kind of like getting stalled out, man. He's not really facing the top opponents that boxing fans want him to face, and he seems to be losing a lot of momentum. But a victory over a guy that is established as a Erislandry Lara will go a long ways in revitalizing, jump-starting his career. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Follow me on Instagram, 9707 Gerard. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.